if AI is doing all your strategy better than you and road mapping the way to get to from A to B better than you, what is left for you to do as a leader? Ah, people. The way we respond to anything is where our choice lies. Your ability to not only survive adversity, but to even bounce back and thrive from adversity, which is resilience, is dependent not only on your own personal abilities, but it also is largely dependent on your environment.
What one key piece of advice would you like to give to all the entrepreneurs, watching and leaders listening today?
Dedicate just some time, even if it's just 2 minutes a day, 3 days a week, even, to developing and curating the quality of your mind.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Show. I'm your host, Athin Cassiotis, and today I have an awesome guest. His name is Jem Fuller. He is an award-winning author, TEDx speaker, executive coach with over 15 years of experience guiding senior leaders across government, business, and nonprofits. He leads transformational retreats in the Himalayas and is the founder of the Center of Love Foundation, a global movement for love-fueled leadership and systemic change. And he blends ancient wisdom with modern leadership strategies, helping leaders thrive in the age of AI by mastering the timeless human-to-human skills of conscious communication, presence, and purpose. Welcome, Jem, and thank you for being on the Business Growth Show.
Athin, thanks for having me on your show, mate. I much appreciate it.
You're welcome, mate. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing show for everyone watching and listening today. And you are a successful entrepreneur. So for those people who don't know who you are, introduce yourself by telling us a bit more about you and your journey.
Well, it's been a colourful journey. If you had have asked me when I was an 18-year-old where I thought I would end up, I would never have guessed. But we can't really, looking forward, we can't guess the pathways that are going to evolve in front of us and the decisions we're going to make and that sort of thing. But yeah, I all from age of 18 right through to about 32, I was very anti-establishment. I didn't want to play ball. I didn't want to go to uni and get a job and do what society told us to do. So I just nicked off overseas, mate, and I had a very colourful life, barefoot backpacking and doing everything from tribal tattooing to fire dancing to kindergarten teaching in Taiwan to volunteering in third world countries and motorcycle couriering and singer-songwriter and actor and all sorts. But just wandering around the world trying to figure life out. And then fell in love, got married, had kids. When I had kids, I was like, well, I got to get a job. So I went and got a job. And then the next thing I know, I'm in a suit and tie. And my friends and family were looking at me going, who are you and what have you done with Jem? And I donned the suit and tie for 8 years and played that game and did pretty well and ended up in senior leadership with 150 staff and lots of numbers on the spreadsheets and all of the incessant corporate pressure to drive net profit growth, year on year, quarter on quarter, month on month. If you're not driving that net profit growth on last year's results, you're in trouble, right? And this is a systemic pressure. Everyone in the corporate world would know what I'm talking about. Enter stage left, midlife crisis, early 40s, lost my job, lost my marriage, lost my house, lost all the stuff, kept my two sons, thankfully, week on, week off, straight into 50-50, in which I was, and also hit rock bottom, mate. I won't go into it now unless you want me to, but experienced that real kind of identity crisis, really not knowing who the hell am I and what am I doing and what's gone wrong, and that was, I'm going to say 13 years ago now. And since then, have been on a massive path of personal development and coaching and starting my own coaching consultancy and everything, following my path of the heart and my purpose. And now, jump forward to today, involved in a global non-profit that we've set up and raising money to build our non-profit meditation retreat center in the Himalaya on some land that I've been given up there, which is my second home. And I've created an alliance of 12 global movements, not all non-profit, some of them are for-profit, but they're all positive impact. And between the 12 of us, we added it up the other day, we've already directly impacted 15 million lives, and our mission in the next 3 years is to impact 100 million lives. So playing this big, beautiful, global, positive impact game, at the same time as working here in Australia and globally coaching leaders around how to build environments and workplaces where people want to hang out and engage and get involved. So there you go, mate. That's a nutshell.
Yeah, what a life. A lot of people could say they've done that, and you've definitely gone from one end to the other and lived all those things and then obviously come out and going, well, what's a better way, right, of doing it? And I think true testament, not many people can say that, Jem. And you are an amazing guy as well, right? Like in person, when we're catching up, you've got an amazing aura about yourself, and you can tell how you've lived and how you are being, right? You're just a very authentic person there to help, right? So I think that's a very big testament, to who you are. And I think it's interesting. Let's delve into the identity crisis here a little bit, right? Because I think,
Mhm.
how much you talk about it. And I see it with my clients, right? Like in business. And I'd love to know from your perspective is that whenever we're going through a transition, we always need to upgrade the identity, because if you stuck to the old thing, then there's a disconnect, right? And then there's a problem that happens there. So I always have to like upskill them into the next level of not just, being a business operator. I do it from the lens of being a business owner or an investor and things like that from a business perspective. But generally, identity is so powerful, right, in how we are as humans. So I'd love to know your experience of that, and then how were able to transition, from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything that you just said is so true. You can intellectually understand or desire something different in your business, but if the subconscious patterns, if the neurology running in the background is still the old neurology, the old beliefs, the old biases, the old setup, the old ways of perceiving reality and creating your own version of reality, right? And enmeshed into that is your sense of identity. Who am I in all of this? If that's all the old programming, the old software, no matter how much you say, I want to run a new program, if you don't shift the old stuff, you're going to stay stuck in it. You'll either sabotage or roadblock yourself or undo things. So yes, 100%. And not everyone needs to go as far as having a full identity crisis and a breakdown. You don't have to do that. Although that certainly uh, is a catalyst to force you into creating some real change on that deeper identity level. But you can do it more gently than that. I work with my clients as well. I coach execs and senior leaders who are looking for a deeper sense of purpose in their life. They ticked all the boxes. They went and got the qualifications. They got a good job. They worked hard. They got results. They made a lot of money. And they're going, Jem, why am I still feeling like, there's got to be something more to my life. There's got to be a deeper meaning. And also if you and this is what happened to me in those 8 years of the corporate. If you move away from your core values to achieve success, and you start living outwardly out of alignment with your core values, you're going to come unstuck, right? And our values are very much interwoven with our sense of who we think we are, our sense of identity. If you, underneath all the roles we play, so underneath being a manager or a husband or a wife or a dad or a mum or a, board member or all the roles we play, underneath that, it's your character, the type of person you are that really is forming that foundation of your sense of identity. And these are your core values. And I really came unstuck because I thought that I had to go move away from my core values to be successful. I couldn't be authentic. I couldn't be honest. I couldn't be respectful. I didn't think I could. I thought I had to work the system to try and convince people to buy our product and services so that we could make money, right? And I know this, I know a lot of people know this story when you're really honest with yourself. So anyway, the midlife crisis kind of, it felt like it happened to me, but in actual fact, I do know on a much deeper level, I created it. I choose to believe that we manifest all of our own stuff. And yes, there are things that are happening outside of our control, but the way we respond to anything is where our choice lies. So we do have some agency in this whole thing. And then the rebuild was a beautiful opportunity. The rebuild was lovely because you actually get to choose your own core values. They're not prescribed to you and they're not written in stone. You can choose them and change them. And you can also wire yourself to identify with new values that you didn't have before. just through some coaching stuff and some NLP stuff that you and I know about. But with repetition and consistency over time, thanks to neuroplasticity, we can rewire, we can reorganize those patterns inside our mind. And that new sense of identity can become your natural state, you know? And when you're living with this sense of identity and neurologically, that's just a reflex belief, it's a reflex thought pattern, then the outside world appears to change. Your choices change. The way you show up changes. Your results that you get change as well.
Yeah, what a story. Very, very powerful. And what comes to mind here is about our environment, right? Because I think there's a couple of different elements here, right? It's like growing up, if you think about it from a child, right? Like you got your parents, obviously, are there if we're thinking about our children. And then it's like who they're hanging around, whether it's school or other things that they're doing. And then when you get into a work environment, right? From there, it's almost the authoritative way of like, this is the way we do things. You just comply, right? Because you're in this environment here as well, which is quite interesting. So it's like, how are you shaped, but then how are you adjusting, right, over time in that area and being mindful of that? And I know you talk a lot about, I guess, creating work environments, in a workplace that people want to be in as well. So I'd love to know your take on environment and how we create that as well.
Yeah, it's so important. Mate, I'll talk to that. When COVID hit, and everyone was becoming friends with the word pivot, um, and I pivoted to creating online content a lot more. And a client at the time, a government department, said, Jem, could you please create an online course on resilience? Our people are going to need some help with resilience. And I said, yeah, sure. So I went off to build this online course in resilience. And as I was researching resilience and what the studies over all of the years have come to find about personal and organizational resilience, I came to learn that your resilience as an individual, i.e., your ability to not only survive adversity, but to even bounce back and thrive from adversity, which is resilience, is dependent not only on your own personal abilities to be resilient, which can be developed and practiced and curated, but it also is largely dependent on your environment. So you can be a really resilient person, but if you're in an environment that's not conducive to you thriving, it's really hard to thrive. You can survive, but it's really hard to thrive. So there are two aspects to it. And as an individual listening to this, there are certain practices that you can adopt. And if they become your daily ways of being, you can certainly bolster your resilience in massive ways. If you're a leader and your responsibility is to create an environment, whether it's a team environment or from a higher level, an organizational environment, it is your responsibility to build processes and systems and structures into the environment that are conducive to people thriving, right? And that's a whole other piece of work that we can do. So the both of them need to be happening for sure. And it's an interesting seesaw, through COVID. It happened that the employees were coming and starting to, huff and puff and say, the EAP system is not good enough here, or you don't provide enough support, or I need to work from home more, or, you know, people started to, it's tricky to say this because some people might get upset by this, but the trends were, when you look at from a macro level, the trends were that people started to demand more in terms of time at home or leeway, or I've got neurodiversity, or I've got this problem, or I've got depression and anxiety and ADHD, and everyone's got ADHD now, and there's this whole thing. And I noticed that my clients are kind of trying to create the right environment, but they're going, Jem, the tail's wagging the dog here. I'm going to get in trouble if I don't just bow down and say yes to everything they're asking for. So it kind of went out of kilter, and what I think we need to do is bring this pendulum swing gently towards the middle, and let's be reasonable. You know, I'll provide an environment that is conducive to you thriving, but you also, as the employee, you need to take some autonomy and some responsibility for the quality of your life. You can't just externalize and say, well, I can't thrive because you're not blah, 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 right? As an individual, you got to stand up and go, I've got something to say about the quality of my life. When you do that, and the environment you're in is set up for you to thrive, then happy days.
Yeah, I love that. So powerful. And I think this is where leadership comes into it, right? Is because there's a difference between a manager and a leader. Like a manager
Yeah.
sort of is the old school, like, look at the KPIs, you got to do this, right? Whereas a leader is someone like, oh, I love working for you. This is who I want to follow or be part of something, right? And you're getting the most out of them, right? Yeah, you're giving them the best possible chance to thrive. Because I think a lot of people leave because of managers or leaders that
100%.
like
Yeah.
that. So do you want to talk about, I guess, the importance of leadership, building the culture there and I guess what it means to be a good leader, right? So you can create that environment that's everybody loves.
Yeah. Look, I think there's a lot of power in simplicity. And so when we're trying to understand anything, and in this case, leadership, it's good to keep it simple. And so let's just look at the definition of the word. What is it to be a leader? Well, you're leading. Now, there's lots of different ways to do that. You don't have to be out in front saying, follow me. That you can, but you don't have to be. You can be leading from the trenches. You can be leading from behind. There's different ways to do it. But the word leading means you're taking people somewhere or people are following you somewhere. And now let's take a team leader in a corporation and they're showing up to, the city every day and they're showing up to the same building in the same offices. So you're obviously not leading them somewhere geographically different, right? You're all showing up to the same building every day. You'll probably be there next year. So where are you leading them? Well, on an individual level, you're leading them to the future version of themselves, which hopefully is an improvement. Hopefully they're expanding into their potential, right? You're leading them to the future version of themselves. And as a collective, when we can do that, then we're leading this team or this organization to the future iteration of itself, which hopefully is an improved version. So that's where you're leading them, right? Most of the responsibility of a leader is people. Yeah, there's an element where you need to sit and strategically design the future and map out where you're going and why and that kind of thing. Although, mind you, very, very quickly and already, but it'll get adopted very quickly, AI will do all the strategy better than you anyway. So if AI is doing all your strategy better than you and road mapping the way to get to from A to B better than you, what is left for you to do as a leader? Ah, people, right? And so get good at developing authentic and deep rapport with the people that you lead. Care about them as a person. Know how they tick, understand their behavioral style, understand what lights them up, understand what they're good at, understand the parts of their job that they love, you know, understand what they're motivated by and what they care about. What's their personal mission or vision? And how does that align to the organizational mission or vision, right? It's all about people. And if you can get permission from them to coach them, right? If you can help them understand that you genuinely care about them expanding into their potential and them thriving and flourishing in their professional life, and by the way, in their personal life, but let's just keep it professional. When they understand that you genuinely care about that and they give you permission to coach them, dude, that opens up so many conversations that leaders skirt around and don't know how to have because, I don't want to tell them that they're no good at that bit because they might get upset, blah, blah, blah. When a tennis coach and a tennis player are working together, the tennis player wants the coach to tell them where they can get better. You're no good as a coach to me. You're no good if you just keep telling me what I'm good at. I mean, yeah, you can pat me on the back and go, woohoo, let's, celebrate the wins for sure. But hey, coach, how can I improve? It's exactly the same at work. When that relationship is understood and you've got the green light, now you can lead them to the next best version of themselves.
Yeah, I love that. And one key thing that you said earlier, right, was about understanding coaching, right? And you mentioned NLP, which we both have learnt. And I think that's a simple model for a lot of people to understand is how to coach, right? Because there's a difference between mentoring and coaching, right? The mentoring is sort of telling them what to do, and coaching is asking the right questions,
Mm,
right, to get them to a point where you can help them to move forward, to uncover those things and work on that plan. So I think a lot of people need to learn this skill, right? It's not just
yeah,
for coaches out there.
yeah,
It's actually to lead someone. It's for your team, for your children, even, right?
yep,
Everything like that, right? To be able to
yep,
help them to move forward as well.
yep. I don't know what the percentage is, Athan, but it's about, I'm going to say 80 to 90% of the leadership coaching work I do is coaching leaders how to coach.
Wow, that's amazing.
Mm.
It's so interesting, isn't it? How that is, and they're so simple questions. Do you want to like say it from your perspective? If you could give a little tip for everybody here today, right? Of going like maybe what's a good way of asking a question or starting something in that area there if they they want to help someone that reports to them, for example. What one what could you share with them? Yeah.
I think it's good to start with the why. Why am I about to have this conversation with you? Why are we about to have this one-to-one? Why am I about to ask you these questions? In from the position of what's in it for them. Why would they want to engage in this conversation we're about to have? And make it authentic. Don't bullshit. Everyone's got a really good bullshit meter. People know when you're bullshitting. Even if they nod and pretend that they're going along with it, they know. So don't bullshit, be honest. But start with the why. So for example, you've got a new employee, you've just employed someone, they're in your team, and you sit down with them and you say to them, "Hey, I just want to share with you one of the parts of my role that I love and that I get a lot of satisfaction from is seeing the people in this team, the individuals in this team, flourish and thrive, to grow and love their job. When I see you skip out of here at the end of the day going, what a day, trust me, I'm driving home with a smile on my face. So I want to let you know if it's all right with you, I'd love to set it up like I have with the other people in this team where we invest resource, time, energy, money, where we invest resource in you continuing to grow and develop and flourish and thrive. Is that okay with you?" I've never had anyone say no to that question, right? So they say, yes, that's okay with me. And you go, awesome, you're in the right place. So what that looks like is we have a monthly one-to-one. It happens on the first Monday of every month, usually in the afternoon, right? Now, and then you stick to it because they're getting their need for certainty met through knowing that they get their one-to-one with their team leader on the same time, the same day every month, right? And in that one-to-one, we're just going to explore ways for you to continue to grow and flourish and thrive. That's all it's going to be about. And they go, great. And you say, and then you drop in an analogy, the tennis coach and the tennis player, or the athlete sprinting the 100 meters, or the footy player, or the footy team. Drop in an analogy and just say to them, it's kind of similar to that. If I was your footy coach and we only ever talked about the stuff you're doing really well, then obviously you're not going to improve. So sometimes I'm going to have to come to you and share blind spots or things that I've noticed and it's all because I want you to flourish and thrive. And they go, yep. So if it's okay with you, I'll come to you with those things, but I just want you to know why I'm doing it. And they go, I get it, Jem. I get it. You want me to succeed. And you're like, yep, you got it. Right. When you establish a relationship like that, then the context is already established and the tough conversations aren't even that tough anymore. If they've dropped the ball and they're not showing up values aligned or they're not following processes where we need to be compliant, and you need to come to them and ask them to pull their socks up. If you don't have that relationship set up, then when you discipline them, quote unquote, when you discipline them, it's going to have negative connotations and effects. They're going to be a bit disgruntled. They'll be a bit like, you just keep pointing out why I'm terrible and blah, 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 blah. It's not going to end well. But if you've set up that relationship where they know the truth, and the truth is that you want them to succeed, then when you come and say, hey, I've noticed you've dropped the ball a little bit. Let's talk about that. Right? At the end of that conversation, they walk away inspired, disciplined a little bit, but inspired, going, I'm going to pull my socks up. I'm better than that. I can do this. I got this, right? Or they leave. I don't want to be here anymore. But either way, that's either of those two results is better than just disgruntled, poor performance, right?
Yeah, well, that was extremely powerful, everyone, of what Jem just shared with us there about that conversation, that process. I love the leading with why, and it's the agreements that you did there, right? Like this is what it is. They buying into this way of being and that culture of what it is, and then you have that relationship, and like you said, you can do it there, and I think that's what has been big for me growing up with sports, right? Is like being in that mindset as well. So I recommend everybody should be in sports or something that has discipline. It could be music, it could be other things like that, right? That allows you to move forward with something. But I think that was extremely powerful for everyone. So make sure you took some notes and stuff and integrate what Jem just shared, because that was gold. One other thing you mentioned there was about AI, right? And I think this is a really powerful topic now because it's evolving very fast, and the relevance of a leader, right, in the new world of AI, it's changing, and getting rid of that fear, I guess, right, is one part, and how do we thrive, like you talk about there. So tell us more about this, how we can do this as a leader.
I believe there are two projects that you as a leader should be very interested in and engaged in and leaning into. And one of them obviously is the adoption of these emerging intelligences, right? Evolve with them. Get in. Lean right in. Find out what's going on. I want to know. How can I use it? What can I best use? How can we adopt it? Da, 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 da. Now, it's going to be easier for you if you're in the private sector. Got a lot of clients in the public sector, and I know that it's there's more resistance because the government drag their heels on this stuff because they've got all these other risk concerns around privacy and whatnot. But it's happening whether you like it or not. So lean into it. Get curious. Go to the AI ex CEO conference, with the conference I met you at. Go to things like that, right? Lean in. That's the one project. And at the same time, lean into the project of developing your human to human relational capabilities, which is something you can develop, right? You're not just born away and then you're stuck like that and you go, well, I don't have much emotional intelligence. I'm no good at it. No, no, no. This is stuff you can develop and learn. So lean into it because as AI, and like I said earlier, AI gets better and better at doing the things that it can do better than us, and we don't are not needed to do those things anymore, then our relevance and our value will be in our relationships, the human to human stuff. Athan, I'm saying to clients of mine, because I'm encouraging my clients, hey, check this out, or check, use this. And they go, holy crap, Jem, you just saved me 2 hours. And I'm like, right now, pause. Don't go on to the next task in your to-do list. Pause. Last week, you'd still be working on that document, right? Last week, for the next 2 hours, you'd be working on that document. You've now got an hour and 45 minutes up your sleeve. Take a breath. Go and find someone that you've got an important relationship with and sit down with them. Take them out for a coffee. Ask them how their life is. Go for a walk in the park with them if it's a nice day outside, right? Invest that time in your relationships and also in your own resilience. Get some fresh air, slow down, eat your lunch with your laptop closed, heaven forbid. Turn your phone off, right? AI is going to be giving us back a whole bunch of time. And I mean, you know this as well, Athan. People's biggest gripe in work life is I don't have enough time. My to-do list never gets ticked off. There's always more pressure on me and I never have enough time to get everything done and it's stressful, right? Well, how good's this? AI is going to give you a whole bunch of time back. So don't just fill it with more stressful, oh my God. Use it wisely and use it for your own resilience and for relationships.
Yeah, amazing. I love it, mate. It's so powerful, right? And how do we leverage that to do more things, that connection and everything with AI? So I love it. And it's going all into it. One thing I'll just add to everybody, because it's funny, right? The more everyone I talk to, most people don't know this, right? But like I say, like, how many people use the free AI? A lot of people use it. And I said, you shouldn't be using free AI if it's information that is from a business or something like that, because it becomes public knowledge. It's not, there. So you should be using a paid AI. So I just wanted to share that
Yes.
with everybody here today, because I think there's a lot of people in these companies that are going, oh, I'm just going to put everything in this free thing. But yeah, are you and this is why you've got this privacy stuff, right? And everything like that there of, ideally you pay for everyone within your organization to use it. But I think that's an important point that
Yeah, it
most
is.
people
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
And you can also get, a friend of mine he started his AI company in 2015. So he was 10 years ahead of the curve. And his company built AIs for organizations. So you own the AI, you own the vectors, you own the algorithms, you own the information, you own the data set, you own it all. It doesn't go anywhere outside your organization. So that's also an option for people. Something else I wanted to just touch on in regards to leaders and AI, and our mutual friend Johan, he and I were talking about this the other day. AI is an amplifier. When you're working with an AI, it amplifies you because it's learning about you and then feeding back to you about you. Now it has access to the World Wide Web and it has access to, you know, abilities that we just don't have, but it is learning how to be with you by observing you, right? So it's like an amplifier. So where this is important, if you go in and start engaging with AI and your state of mind isn't great, it's going to amplify that, right? If you're unclear or unfocused or demotivated or negative or focused on what's not possible and problems focused, or if you're suffering from depression or anxiety or whatever and you're engaging with AI, it's going to amplify that, right? So we've got to be careful. This is another piece of work I think is really important for us as humans and what we can do. Develop the quality of your mind. Now, I'm talking about meditation, talking about breath work, talking about exercise, healthy food, nature, immersion, right? These things. It's really important that you develop the quality of your mind because our AI amplifies your mind, right? So if you want a powerful AI that is aligned with you, which it will be, I'm not talking about the big AIs out there. I'm talking about your own personal agent that you're working with. Then you want to really start um, dedicating some time to curating a beautiful, calm, focused mind as well. Really important.
Yeah, I love that. So powerful. And let's talk a little bit about, because it links in very well, about your retreats in the Himalayas, right? Because I think
Yeah.
that's amazing. You know, it's really funny, right? And haven't told this very often, but when I was really young, I always wanted to go to the Himalayas. I didn't know why, and I haven't been yet. But it was like when I was 18, I just wanted to go. It was something very interesting. I think there's some innate thing, maybe it's a past life, whatever the belief is, right? Of people around there. There, I think it's amazing that you're creating something in an amazing environment, right? There around that. So, do you want to talk about that, about what you do there and the benefits, of coming to a retreat like what you do?
Yeah. Man, there's a reason you've had a calling to go to the Himalayas, and you're not the only one. There is something magical about the Himalayas. And and also particularly this region of the Himalayas that I fell in love with back in 1998 and has become my second home. And this might sound a bit woo-woo for a lot of people, but there are people who believe that the Earth has energy lines called ley lines, the same way a human body has energy lines like meridians and chakras and all of that Eastern understanding of the way energy flows. And people believe that the Earth also has meridians, energy lines and acupuncture points, etc. Which makes sense because if you think about it, if a human biological body does, then the Earth body would as well. But anyway, that's a bit woo-woo. But this particular part of the Himalaya where we go is like an acupuncture in the meridians of the Earth. There's something really, really powerful there. I had an incredible healing from a serious motorcycle accident there when I was 27. Incredible. And also I noticed the healing powers of this part of the world when I was living there back in the 90s, when I was barefoot and dreadlocked and smoking weed and doing the hippie thing, right? And anyway, so I always knew I was going to take people there. In 2013, I realized that it was a conscious leadership retreat, and we started running it in 2014. It's now built out to a 14-day high ticket, completely transformational experience, which I won't go into too much of the detail. We can drop a link and people can go and look it up. But one of the reasons that it's so transformational, it's not only the content that I've developed over 30 years, and I teach the 8 principles of inner peace. And it's not only that people walk away with the completely deep, clear understanding of who they are and why they're here. It's also the geographical location and the cultural location of these mountains. Part of the program is that we walk for 7 days and we go off the beaten track and we go where there's no people. We're not walking on a trekking track with backpackers. We've got pack horses and guides and we are off the grid. Your phone doesn't work. We're camping in tents. It's not for everyone. It's really cold at night. It's beautiful and stunning. And these mountains are so big. It's just hard to explain unless you go there. Photos don't do it justice. They're so big that all of your problems just seem to disintegrate into nothing. It's like, what? I was stressing out about that? That doesn't matter, right? It just doesn't matter. And you also get up to elevation. We get up around 5,000 meters, and literally and metaphorically, you kind of get to elevate above your life and you get a perspective on your life and the way you've been running it that you've never had before. And then you get clarity on some of the bigger questions and answers, like why am I here and who am I? And then you look forward and go, wow, I really know now what I want my legacy to be. And it's not about me being remembered. It's not about someone remembering the name Jem Fuller. It's about my children and our communities and the people that I coach and the impact that I'll have. Long after I'm forgotten, what are the ripples that have turned into waves, positive waves? That's the legacy stuff. And you get clarity on that when you're up there. So I think that's kind of in a nutshell part of why it's so transformative for people. And just the one last thing I'll add in, because I know we might be using up time, but it's also the hero's journey, right? When someone goes all the way from New York or Melbourne or Sydney or Paris and they have to travel on a plane, maybe a couple of different plane rides, land in a foreign country like Oz, like the Wizard of Oz, and then they have to get from there up into the mountains and then in the jeeps up to there, and then they got to trek for 7 days. Like it's the hero's journey to get there, and it's like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz when the cyclone blows her and she lands in this whole world, different world with munchkins and talking trees and everything's different. It's kind of like that, right? You land in a culture that's completely different to yours. And because of that, because you are so out of your normal context, out of your normal paradigm, your neurology opens up. Neurons that have never fired together before fire together, right? You literally expand your consciousness and you're like, wow, I never thought of that before. And you have that many aha moments on the program and you harvest them into a little book and you take them home with you and implement them. That's why it's a transformative program.
Yeah, I love that. It's so gold, right? I've done a lot of transformational things. I haven't done that yet. I'm sure I'll get to that at some point with you, mate. But I definitely highly recommend for people like, there's a reason, they call them retreats, right? It's like getting away from the way that you're normally thinking and everything that's going on, give you the time to look inwards and go, what's really important. And like you said, that legacy, that ripple effect that we create and just getting those, you know, aha moments, that intuition, whatever it is, coming to you. And I agree. I think in different places there's different great energies, right? All over the world. Even here in Sydney, with my wife, there used to be this conscious place we used to go to connect with people. And a friend was running an event there and basically went through a guided meditation. And I asked for my perfect woman and manifested, magnetized, created my wife instantly at that event. She was there, right? Literally
It's
what I
such a
asked
great
for.
story.
It's a great
Yeah.
story. It goes for a lot longer. We don't have a lot of time, right? But it was this room, I'm telling you, like this place, there's something about it. Now, obviously, the Himalayas is a whole other level of what I could do. So if I can find something like that in this amazing place in Sydney where I could do it, I could just imagine how much it could be amplified, like you were talking about there, right? When you're in that place, it's like amazing. The ideas, the connections, a sense of being and how to be conscious in this
Yeah.
world is going to be ridiculous there. So yeah, I think it's really powerful, mate, of what you're doing, and it'd be really impactful. So well done for doing that, and yeah, and from that journey of yours, I think that's probably a big part, right? It's like you have to go through all those things in your life, the ups and downs and the experiences, and go, wait a minute. There's a lot of people that haven't experienced this. This is something that I can do as part of my mission, right? With what you're doing now, all the charity work and all those amazing people that are impacting hundreds of million lives and all of that is ridiculous and amazing, right? Which is what I love, that big vision. So I think that's really powerful. And I guess, yeah, as we're wrapping up here today, what one key piece of advice would you like to give to all the entrepreneurs, watching and leaders listening today?
Dedicate just some time, even if it's just 2 minutes a day, 3 days a week, even to developing and curating the quality of your mind. And I'll give you the how to. just a couple of minutes of mindfulness meditation, just a couple of minutes. The short-term benefits, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which means you come to a state of calm and you make better decisions when you calm. You communicate more effectively when you calm. You listen better when you calm, right? So you can get better at switching on calm. And over the long term, you actually develop the ability to be the driver of your own bus, right? You can choose your state of being. Now that's powerful, right? You're about to go up and give a keynote at a conference and you're nervous and your mouth's dry and your heart's racing, that you can actually, through a meditation, calm yourself and come into your center and deliver that keynote to the best of your ability. Or you're about to go into a really important negotiation with with a competitor or with an acquisition or some big high stakes conversation. And you're a bit heightened more than you want to be. The ability to be able to calm yourself before you walk into that boardroom is a superpower. Right? Now you can develop this through mindfulness meditation. So if I could implore you to take anything from this, do that. And mate, you know what? You can have my course for free. I'll give you the coupon code. Any of your listeners that want to go through my mindfulness meditation introduction course, just pop the coupon code in. We'll put it in the notes, and that's my gift.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you, Jem. I think it's so powerful as well, and I like to calm myself as well. So I do what Jem's talking about here before I go into situations, so that you can really lead that room and influence people in a positive way. And thank you for that offer as well. I think it's important for everybody to be able to do that. And yeah, we connected, at the AXCO event through our networks, with Johan and everything, and learned about your awesome journey from all of your experience in different leaders roles around government, business, nonprofits. Awesome guy, so just authentic, wanting to impact, wanting to help. And I'm sure you're just going to continue to smash it, mate, and just make a massive impact. And sort of looking forward to, being alongside you there and seeing, what you're doing there, which is really, really powerful. And mate, you're an awesome guy, so knowledgeable, and I'm sure you continue to help people master the timeless human to human skills of conscious communication, presence, and purpose. And very, very grateful that we connected, mate. Look forward to connecting and partnering and everything like that in the future. So, Jem, yeah, how can people find you, get in contact with you, and get part of that? That meditation and everything else.
So Jem Fuller everywhere, jemfuller.com, Jem Fuller on Insta, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. So anywhere like that. I'm accessible, man. If you jump on jemfuller.com and fill out that contact form, it'll come to me, and or you can even you can find a way to book time into my calendar even. I'm accessible. It's a value of mine. I don't want to be unreachable. I want to connect and talk and see how we can help each other. So reach out. The retreats in India, I mean, you can find the retreats through jemfuller.com, but if you want to go straight to the page, just go to meaningonthemountain.com.au and you'll find it there. Yeah, man, that's it. That's it. If we can put the link in your show notes with the coupon code My Gift, then that'll make the course free for people.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, definitely check out Jem there, the website, the socials, the other website, the coupon code for the gift. So giving here today, mate, and so much impact that you've created. It's been a pleasure interviewing you, and thanks for being on the Business Growth Show.
Thanks so much for having me on, Athin.
Thank you for watching and listening to the Business Growth Show, where we talk about everything on business growth. And please like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as Athin Cassiotis, or visit my website, athincassiotis.com. And if you want to grow and scale your business, you'd reach out to me on any platform to see if we're a good fit. So until next time, remember that our business grows where we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. So let's create wealth and freedom together.